Michael Torres pushed his mop across the floor of the Naval Special Warfare Training Facility gym in Coronado, California. It was 5:30, and the first wave of Navy SEALs was trickling in for their morning workouts. They walked past him without a second glance, just as they did every day. To them, he was nobody, just the old janitor who cleaned the gym, emptied the trash, and made sure the equipment was wiped down. Michael was 52 years old, thin and weathered, with gray starting to show in his dark hair. He moved with a slight limp, favoring his right leg. His uniform was a simple navy blue maintenance jumpsuit with M. Torres embroidered on the chest. He kept his head down, did his work, and tried to stay invisible. It was safer that way. "Hey, old man," a voice called out. "You missed a spot over here." Michael looked up to see a young SEAL pointing at a puddle of water near the squat rack. The kid was maybe 25, fit and cocky, the way all new SEALs were before they'd seen real combat. "Yes, sir, I'll get that right away." The SEAL laughed. "I'm not a sir, I work for a living, but yeah, get that cleaned up before someone slips." Michael grabbed his mop and moved to the spot. As he cleaned, 3 more SEALs gathered nearby, preparing to work out. "Man, can you believe they got this old dude cleaning our gym?" one of them said, not bothering to lower his voice. "Looks like a strong breeze would knock him over." "Probably some washed-up veteran who couldn't hack it anywhere else," another replied. "My grandpa's in better shape than this guy, and he's 70. They laughed, and Michael kept mopping. He'd heard worse. He heard it every day, the casual dismissal, the mockery, the assumption that he was just a failure who'd ended up in the only job he could get. They weren't entirely wrong. This was the only job he could get. But not for the reasons they thought. Michael finished cleaning the puddle and moved to the locker room. He had trash to collect, floors to mop, toilets to clean. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was honest, and it kept him busy enough that he didn't have to think too much. Thinking was dangerous. Thinking led to remembering. In the locker room, he found 2 SEALs changing after their workout, engaged in an animated conversation. "Did you hear about the new co?" one of them said. "Captain Donnelly is taking over the training command next week." "Donnelly, where's he coming from?" "DEVGRU? Red Squadron. Guy's a legend. 25 years in the teams, more combat deployments than anyone can count." Michael's hands tightened on the trash bag he was holding. DEVGRU, Red Squadron. That was a name he hadn't heard in a long time. "Supposed to be a hard-ass," the other SEAL continued. "No nonsense, old-school operator, should be interesting." Michael quickly finished collecting the trash and left the locker room. His heart was beating faster than it should be. DEVGRU, Red Squadron. The past was getting too close. He took his cart to the maintenance closet and sat down on an old stool, trying to calm his breathing. The panic attacks still came sometimes, even after all these years. The therapist at the VA called it PTSD. Michael called it the price you paid for surviving when others didn't. He pulled out his phone and looked at the only photo he kept on it. A young girl, maybe 6 years old, with dark hair and a bright smile. His daughter, Sophia, the reason he got up every morning. The reason he kept going, even when the weight of the past felt like it would crush him. Sophia lived with her mother in San Diego, about 20 minutes away. Michael's ex-wife, Maria, had full custody. He got to see Sophia every other weekend, supervised visits, because the court had deemed him unstable after his discharge from the military. Maria had tried to be understanding at first, but the nightmares, the drinking, the times he'd disappeared for days without explanation, it had been too much. She'd left when Sophia was 3, and Michael couldn't blame her. He'd been a mess. He was still a mess, just better at hiding it. Michael's phone buzzed with a text from Maria. "Sophia wants to know if you're coming to her recital on Saturday. Please confirm." He texted back, "I'll be there, wouldn't miss it." The recital was for her dance class. Sophia had been taking ballet for a year now, and she was excited to perform. Michael had already requested the time off work, had already planned what he would wear, what he would say to her afterward. These moments with his daughter were all he had left that mattered. "Torres," a voice called from outside the closet. It was his supervisor, a retired Navy chief named Patterson. "You got the gym floor done." Michael stepped out. "Yes, Chief, moving to the weight room next." "Good, make sure you get those mirrors spotless." The new co is doing a facility walkthrough this week, and I want everything perfect. Aye, Chief. Michael spent the next 2 hours cleaning with meticulous care. Whatever else people thought about him, they couldn't say he didn't do his job well. Every surface shined. Every piece of equipment was sanitized. Every trash can was emptied. It was mindless work, and that's what he needed. Mindless work that kept the memories at bay. But as he cleaned the mirrors in the weight room, he caught sight of himself in the reflection. A tired man in a janitor's uniform, anonymous and forgotten. He turned his head slightly, and in the mirror, he could see the edge of a tattoo on his neck. Most of it was hidden by his collar, but part of it was visible if you knew what to look for. Michael quickly adjusted his collar to cover it completely. That tattoo was from another life, another version of himself. A version that nobody here could know about. A version that had to stay buried. 3 days later, the new commanding officer arrived. Captain Richard Donnelly was a man of about 45, with gray hair cut high and tight, sharp blue eyes, and the bearing of someone who'd spent a lifetime in combat. He walked through the facility with the command master chief, inspecting everything, asking questions, observing. Michael was cleaning the cardboard boxes in the equipment storage area when he heard voices approaching. "The facility is in good shape," the master chief was saying. "We run a tight operation here." "I can see that," Captain Donnelly replied. "Training standards." "Hi, sir. We're producing some of the best operators in the teams." They walked past the storage area, and Michael kept his head down, continuing his work. But something made him glance up, just for a second. And in that second, his eyes met Captain Donnelly's. The co paused mid-step, his gaze fixed on Michael. There was something in his expression, recognition, confusion. Michael immediately looked away, focusing intensely on the boxes he was breaking down. "Sir," the Master Chief said, "something wrong." Donnelly was quiet for a moment. "No, continue." They moved on, but Michael could feel the co's eyes on him as they left. He told himself it was nothing, that it was paranoia, that there was no way Donnelly could recognize him from a passing glance after all these years. But deep down, he knew better. The past never stayed buried as well as you hoped. That evening, as Michael was finishing his shift, Patterson called him into the office. "Tors, the new co wants to see you tomorrow morning. 700 his office." Michael felt ice run through his veins. "Did he say why, Chief?" "No, but when the co asks to see you, you show up. Understood?" "Yes, Chief." Michael left the facility and walked to the bus stop. He couldn't afford a car. The child support payments took most of his check, and the rest went to his small studio apartment and groceries. On the bus ride home, he stared out the window and wondered what Donnelly had seen, what he remembered, and whether the life Michael had carefully built over the last 10 years was about to come crashing down. 12 years earlier, somewhere in Afghanistan. Chief Petty Officer Michael Tors crouched in the darkness, his weapon ready, watching the compound through his night vision goggles. He was part of a 12-man SEAL team, Red Squadron, DEVGRU, the most elite unit in the most elite force in the world. They'd been on the ground for 6 hours, watching this compound in the mountains of eastern Afghanistan. Intelligence said a high-value target was inside, a Taliban commander responsible for coordinating attacks across the region. The mission was supposed to be simple: breach, clear, capture, or kill the target, extract. They'd done it hundreds of times. But nothing about this night would be simple. "Ghost 1, this is Ghost 7, Michael whispered into his radio. He was the team's communications specialist and medic. "South side is clear, no movement." "Copy 7, came the reply from Lieutenant Commander Donnelly, the team leader. "All positions report ready, we breach in 60 seconds. Michael checked his gear one more time. Medical supplies, ammunition, radio equipment, everything in its place. He was 39 years old, with 17 years in the Navy. He'd been a SEAL for 12 of those years, and with DEVGRU for 5. He was respected, experienced, and one of the best combat medics in the teams. He was also a father. His daughter, Sophia, had been born 8 months ago, and he carried her photo in a waterproof pouch next to his heart. Every mission, he looked at that photo before going in and promised himself he'd make it home to see her grow up. 30 seconds, Donnelly's voice said. The team moved into position. Michael was in the second entry group, responsible for clearing the south wing of the compound while the first group took the main building. Breach, breach, breach. Explosive charges blew the doors simultaneously. The teams poured in, weapons up, moving with practiced precision. Michael entered the south wing with his three-man element. The first room was empty. The second contained two armed fighters. They were neutralized in seconds. Ghost 1, South Wing 2, EKIA, Michael reported. Enemy killed in action. Copy, main building clear. Moving to secondary structure. That's when the shooting started. Not from the compound, from outside, from the hills surrounding them. The intelligence had been wrong. The compound wasn't just a hiding place for one Taliban commander. It was a trap. Ambush, ambush, Donnelly's voice cracked over the radio. All elements defensive positions. Gunfire erupted from multiple directions. RPGs streaked through the darkness. The SEALs returned fire, but they were surrounded, outnumbered. Michael's element fell back to a fortified room in the south wing. From there, they could provide covering fire for the rest of the team. Ghost 7, this is Ghost 1. We've got 2 wounded in the main building. Can you reach us? Michael looked out at the courtyard between his position and the main building. It was a kill zone, lit up with tracer fire and explosions. Negative, Ghost 1. Too hot. Can you bring them to me? We're pinned down, can't move. Michael made the decision in a heartbeat. I'm coming to you, cover me. Ghost 7, that's suicide. But Michael was already moving. He burst from the south wing, sprinting across the courtyard in the darkness. Bullets kicked up dirt around his feet. An RPG hit the wall behind him, the explosion throwing him forward. He rolled, came up running, and dove into the main building. Donnelly grabbed him. You crazy son of a... Where are the wounded? 2 SEALs were down. Petty Officer Jackson had taken shrapnel to the leg and chest. Petty Officer Martinez had been shot in the shoulder and face. Michael went to work immediately. Combat medicine in the dark, under fire, working by feel and training. He stopped the bleeding, stabilized their airways, pumped them full of morphine and antibiotics. Ghost 1, this is Overwatch, the radio crackled. It was the quick reaction force overhead in helicopters. We're taking heavy fire, can't land for extract. You need to break contact and move to alternate LZ 2 clicks north. 2 kilometers through enemy territory, carrying wounded while surrounded by hostiles. Roger, Overwatch, we're moving. The team fought their way out of the compound. Michael and another SEAL carried Jackson on a stretcher. 2 others carried Martinez. The rest provided covering fire. It took 3 hours to move 2 kilometers. 3 hours of running firefights, of diving for cover, of watching for ambushes. 3 hours of hell. Michael's legs were screaming. His back felt like it would break from the weight of the stretcher. But he kept moving, kept carrying Jackson, kept telling him to hold on. Stay with me, brother, stay with me. We're going home. You're going to make it. They reached the alternate LZ just as the helicopters came in. Enemy fire was still hitting them from all sides. Load the wounded first, Donnelly ordered. Michael helped get Jackson and Martinez onto the first helicopter. He was about to climb on himself when he heard a scream. Man down, Ghost 4 is hit. Petty Officer Wilson had been providing rear security when a bullet caught him in the spine. He collapsed, paralyzed, exposed in the open. The helicopters were taking fire. They needed to leave. Michael didn't hesitate. He ran back out into the kill zone, grabbed Wilson, and dragged him toward the helicopter. That's when the mortar round hit. Michael didn't remember the explosion, didn't remember flying through the air, didn't remember hitting the ground. He woke up 3 days later in a hospital in Germany. The doctors told him he was lucky to be alive. Shrapnel in his leg, fractured ribs, traumatic brain injury, severe concussion. He'd been medevaced out while unconscious. The other men, Michael asked. Jackson, Martinez, Wilson. The doctor's face told him everything he needed to know. Jackson didn't make it, died during the flight. Martinez survived but lost his eye. Wilson... Wilson is paralyzed from the waist down. He'll never walk again. Michael closed his eyes. It's my fault. I should have moved faster, should have gotten them out sooner. You saved 2 men's lives. You're a hero. But Michael didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a failure. Jackson was dead. Wilson was in a wheelchair. And it was because Michael hadn't been fast enough, hadn't been good enough. The nightmares started immediately. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Jackson bleeding out, saw Wilson falling, saw the explosion coming. They sent him back to the States for recovery. Months of physical therapy, psychiatric evaluation, medical boards. The TBI was the worst part. He had trouble concentrating, problems with memory, episodes of confusion. The doctors said it might improve with time, or it might not. After 8 months, the Navy's decision came down: medical retirement. Chief Petty Officer Michael Torres, after 17 years of service, was done. He was 40 years old, broken in body and mind, with no idea how to be anything other than a SEAL. The drinking started as a way to sleep without nightmares. Then it became a way to get through the day. Maria begged him to get help, but he couldn't talk about what happened, couldn't face the guilt. She left when Sophia was 3, took their daughter and filed for divorce and custody. The court looked at Michael's medical records, his drinking, his instability, and awarded Maria full custody. Michael spiraled further, lost jobs, lost apartments, ended up on the streets for a few months before the VA finally got him into a program. Slowly, painfully, he put his life back together, got sober, found therapy that actually helped, got the janitorial job at Coronado. It wasn't much, but it was honest work. It paid enough to cover his rent and child support. It kept him stable. And most importantly, nobody there knew who he'd been. Nobody knew about the missions, the failures, the guilt he carried. He was just the janitor, invisible, safe. Until now. Michael stood outside Captain Donnelly's office at precisely 700, his heart pounding. He'd barely slept, had changed his clothes 3 times trying to look presentable, had made sure his collar completely covered the tattoo on his neck. The door opened and the Master Chief appeared. "Torres, come in." Michael entered the office. It was sparse, military precise, with awards and photos on the walls showing Donnelly's career. Captain Donnelly sat behind his desk, studying a file. He looked up when Michael entered. "Senior Chief Torres, have a seat." Michael froze. "Sir, I'm just a janitor. I'm not Senior Chief anymore." "You were never just anything, Torres. Sit down." Michael sat, his hands trembling slightly. Donnelly closed the file. "When I saw you yesterday, something bothered me. You looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. So I checked the personnel records for all civilian employees on this base." He tapped the file. "Imagine my surprise when I found that our janitor is Chief Petty Officer Michael Torres, medically retired from DVGRU Red Squadron in 2012. Michael said nothing. "Do you remember me, Torres?" "Yes, sir. You were Lieutenant Commander Donnelly, my team leader." "That's right. And do you remember the mission? The one where you ran across a kill zone twice to save your teammates?" Michael's hands clenched. "I remember, sir. You pulled Jackson and Martinez out of that building. You carried them for 2 kilometers. And when Wilson went down, you went back for him. You saved 3 men that night." "Jackson died, sir, and Wilson." "Jackson died from wounds he received before you got to him. The medics said if you'd been even 2 minutes slower, Martinez would have died too. And Wilson is alive today because you dragged him to that helicopter while mortars were falling. You're a hero, Torres." "I don't feel like a hero, sir." Donnelly leaned forward. "Why are you working as a janitor? You should have access to veteran support programs, employment assistance. You're a decorated SEAL with 17 years of service." Michael looked down. "I have a traumatic brain injury, sir, trouble with memory, concentration. Most employers won't touch me once they see the medical records, and I've got issues, PTSD. The VA helps, but I'm not the same person I was." "None of us are the same after what we've been through, but you're still a SEAL, still one of the finest operators I ever served with. This," he gestured around, "this is wrong. You shouldn't be cleaning toilets." "It's honest work, sir, and it's all I can handle right now." "What about your family?" The question hit like a punch. "I'm divorced, sir. My ex-wife has custody of our daughter. I see her every other weekend." Donnelly's expression softened. "I'm sorry, I didn't know." "Nobody does. I keep my head down, do my work, try not to think about who I used to be. It's easier that way." "Easier isn't better, Torres." Donnelly stood and walked to the window. "I lost contact with most of the team from that deployment. Life moved on, but I never forgot what you did. None of us did." He turned back to Michael. Tell me about the tattoo on your neck, the one you're trying to hide. Michael's hand automatically went to his collar. Sir, I saw it yesterday, just a glimpse, but I recognized it. It's the Red Squadron insignia, isn't it? The one we all got after that deployment. Slowly, Michael pulled down his collar. On his neck, partially hidden by his jumpsuit, was a tattoo, a detailed red trident with dates underneath. 2007-2012. We all got them, Michael said quietly. The whole team, to remember the brothers we lost, to remember what we survived. I still have mine, Donnelly said, pulling aside his own collar to show an identical tattoo. On my shoulder, I look at it every day. The two men stood in silence, connected by shared trauma, shared brotherhood. Sir, why did you want to see me? Michael finally asked. Because you're one of my men, Tors, and I don't leave my men behind. You're struggling, and I'm going to help. Sir, I appreciate that, but... That's not a request, Senior Chief. It's an order. The use of his old rank made Michael's spine straighten involuntarily. Donnelly continued, I'm connected with several organizations that help veterans. Good organizations that understand PTSD and TBI. They can get you better treatment, better support. And I know employers who specifically hire veterans like you, men who have served with honor and need a second chance. I'm not looking for charity, sir. It's not charity, it's what you earned, what you deserve. Donnelly sat on the edge of his desk. But there's something else, something I need your help with. My help? We're starting a new program here. Peer support for SEALs who are transitioning out or struggling with combat trauma. We need someone who's been through it, someone who understands, someone who has the respect of the teams. Sir, I'm the janitor. Nobody here respects me. They don't know who you are, but they will. Michael shook his head. I can't stand in front of young SEALs and talk about my failures. You didn't fail, Tors, you survived. There's a difference. Wilson is in a wheelchair because of me. Wilson is alive because of you. I talked to him last month. He's married, has 2 kids, coaches wheelchair basketball. He told me that you gave him a second chance at life. Michael felt tears burning his eyes. He said that. He did, along with Martinez, who still calls you the bravest man he ever served with. Donnelly pulled out his phone and showed Michael a message. It was from a group chat labeled Red Squadron 2011. The latest message from someone named Martinez read, Anyone know what happened to Tors? Lost touch years ago. Want to thank him for saving my life. You have people who care about you, Tors. People who want to help, let them. Michael wiped his eyes. I don't know if I can do this, sir. Yes, you can because you're a SEAL, and SEALs don't quit. Word spread through the SEAL community faster than Michael expected. Within days, everyone at the facility knew that the quiet janitor was actually a decorated DEVGRU operator. The mockery stopped immediately. The young SEALs who'd laughed at him now treated him with respect, asking questions about his service, seeking advice. It was overwhelming and terrifying and strange. But something else happened too. Other veterans started approaching him. Guys who were struggling with their own demons, who saw in Michael someone who understood. Hey, Tors, a young SEAL named Cooper said one morning. Can I talk to you about stuff from deployment? They sat in the gym after hours, and Cooper told him about the nightmares, the anxiety, the feeling that nothing in civilian life mattered compared to combat. Michael listened, shared his own experience, offered what wisdom he'd gained. It gets better, he told Cooper. Not easier, but better. You learn to carry it, and you don't have to carry it alone. 2 weeks after the meeting in Donnelly's office, Michael stood in front of a room full of SEALs, active duty, retired, and transitioning. Captain Donnelly had organized it as the first meeting of the peer support program. Michael's hands were shaking as he stood at the podium. These were the elite, the warriors, the best of the best, and he was supposed to offer them guidance. But when he looked out at their faces, he saw his own struggle reflected back. The pain, the doubt, the weight of what they'd seen and done. My name is Michael Tors, he began. Some of you know me as the janitor. Some of you now know I was a SEAL. But what I really am is a guy who almost didn't make it, who lost everything, my career, my family, my sense of purpose, who ended up on the streets because I couldn't deal with the weight of what I'd been through. He told them his story, not the heroic parts but the ugly parts, the drinking, the divorce, the nights he'd considered ending it all. I'm standing here today because people didn't give up on me, because the VA finally connected me with the right help, because I found a job that kept me stable, even if it wasn't glamorous, and because Captain Donnelly recognized a tattoo on my neck and decided to pull me back into the Brotherhood. He pulled down his collar, showing the Red Squadron insignia. This tattoo represents the worst night of my life, the night I failed to save everyone, but it also represents survival, brotherhood, the men who had my back when I couldn't have my own back. If you're struggling, I want you to know it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to need help. And it's okay to admit that being a warrior doesn't mean you're not human. When he finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then someone started clapping, then another. Then they were all standing, applauding. Michael felt tears on his face, but for the first time in years, they weren't tears of shame. 3 months after Captain Donnelly recognized him, Michael's life had transformed in ways he couldn't have imagined. He still worked at the facility, but not as a janitor. Donnelly had created a new position for him, Veteran Transition Coordinator. He counseled SEALs who were leaving the service, connected them with resources, and ran the peer support program. The pay was better, the work was meaningful, and for the first time since his injury, Michael felt like himself again. The peer support program had grown to over 50 regular participants. SEALs came from all over to attend, to talk, to find help. And Michael discovered he had a gift for it. His own struggles made him credible, and his survival gave others hope. But the most important change came from an unexpected place. One Saturday morning, Michael attended Sophia's dance recital. She was 7 now, growing up so fast. He sat in the audience, beaming with pride as she performed. After the recital, Maria approached him. They'd been civil since his life had stabilized, but there was still distance between them. "Michael, can we talk?" They stepped outside while Sophia changed out of her costume. "I've noticed changes in you," Maria said. "You seem better, healthier, more like the man I married. I'm getting help, real help, and I'm working again doing something meaningful." Sophia's noticed too. She talks about you all the time, about how proud she is of her daddy. Michael felt his throat tighten. "She said that?" "She did, and I've been thinking. Maybe it's time to revisit the custody arrangement. If you're stable, if you're getting treatment, maybe Sophia could spend more time with you." "Are you serious?" "I'm serious. You're her father. You deserve to be in her life, and she deserves to have you." Michael couldn't speak. He just nodded, tears streaming down his face. When Sophia came out, she ran to him and hugged him tight. "Did you see me, Daddy? Did you see my dance?" "I saw everything, Mija. You were perfect." "Can we get ice cream?" "Absolutely." As they walked to the ice cream shop, Sophia holding his hand, Michael felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. The moment that meant the most came 6 months later. Captain Donnelly had organized a reunion for Red Squadron's 2011 deployment, the team from that night in Afghanistan. 12 men had gone on that mission. 11 had made it home. The reunion was held at a hotel in San Diego. Michael almost didn't go, terrified of facing the men he thought he'd failed. But when he walked into the room, he was met with hugs, with tears, with genuine joy. Martinez was there, the eye patch he wore a reminder of that night. "Tors, man, I've been looking for you for years. I'm sorry I disappeared." "Don't apologize, just glad you're here now." Wilson rolled up in his wheelchair, a huge smile on his face. "Tors, you beautiful bastard, come here." Michael knelt down and hugged him. "Wilson, I'm so sorry if I'd been faster." "Stop right there, you saved my life. I'm alive because of you. I'm married, got 2 kids, coaching basketball. I've got a good life. And I wouldn't have any of it if you hadn't dragged me to that helicopter." "I should have." "You should have nothing. You did everything humanly possible, more than anyone had a right to expect, and we're all here today because of what you did." Donnelly stood and addressed the group. "Gentlemen, I want to propose a toast to the men who didn't make it home, and to the men who did, especially to Senior Chief Michael Tors, the bravest combat medic I ever served with, the man who ran into hell twice to bring his brothers home." Everyone raised their glasses to Tors. Michael stood, overwhelmed by emotion. "I don't deserve this." "Yes, you do," Martinez said. "You deserve this and so much more." Later in the evening, as the stories flowed and the bonds of brotherhood were rekindled, Wilson pulled Michael aside. "I need to tell you something," Wilson said. "After I got injured, I was in a dark place, really dark. I thought my life was over. But then I got a visit from a chaplain at the hospital. He told me about what you did, how you risked everything to save me. He said you got wounded trying to get me out. I was just doing my job. That chaplain told me that if you thought my life was worth saving, then maybe it was. That became my reason to keep going, to not give up. You saved my life twice, Tors, once on that field and once in that hospital room when I was ready to quit." Michael couldn't hold back the tears anymore. "I've been carrying the guilt for so long, thinking I failed you." "You didn't fail anyone. You're the reason we're all still here." As the reunion wound down, Michael stood with his old team, looking at the faces of men he'd thought he'd never see again. "You know what the hardest part was?" he said. "Not the injuries, not the divorce. It was thinking that I'd let you all down, that I wasn't good enough." Donnelly put a hand on his shoulder. "Tors, you were always good enough, more than good enough. The problem wasn't you. It was that you tried to carry everything alone. That's what broke you, not the mission, the isolation." "I know that now." "Good, because we're not letting you disappear again. You're stuck with us." 1 year after Captain Donnelly recognized the tattoo on his neck, Michael stood at a podium in front of 300 people at a veterans conference in Los Angeles. He was there to speak about his journey from DEVGRU operator to homeless veteran to peer support coordinator. His story had spread through the veteran community, inspiring others who were struggling. "I spent years hiding who I was," he told the audience. "I thought the tattoo on my neck was a mark of shame, a reminder of failure, so I covered it up, tried to make myself invisible." He pulled down his collar, showing the Red Squadron insignia. "But this tattoo isn't about failure. It's about brotherhood. It's about men who have each other's backs, even in the darkest times, even when you think you're not worth saving." He told them about the mission, about the years of struggle, about Donnelly recognizing him. "The moment Captain Donnelly saw this tattoo, my life changed, because he reminded me that I wasn't alone, that I was still part of something bigger than myself, that I still mattered." He talked about the peer support program, about helping other veterans, about reconnecting with his daughter. "If you're struggling, please hear me. You are not alone, you are not forgotten, and you are worth saving. Reach out, ask for help. Let your brothers and sisters pull you back from the edge." "I was the invisible janitor, the guy people walked past without seeing. But I was always more than that. We all are. Don't let the world make you invisible. Don't let shame keep you hidden." The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Afterward, veterans lined up to talk to him, to thank him, to share their own stories. Each one reminded him why this work mattered. Sophia was in the audience too. Maria had brought her to see her father speak. When Michael finally made it to them, Sophia hugged him tight. "I'm proud of you, Daddy." "I'm proud of you too, Mija." Maria smiled. "You're doing important work, Michael, really important." "I'm just trying to pay forward what was given to me." That evening, Michael sat in his apartment, a nice one-bedroom now in a safe neighborhood, and looked at the photos on his wall. There was Sophia at her dance recital, his old team from Red Squadron, the peer support group, Captain Donnelly presenting him with an award. And in the center, a photo from that veterans conference. Michael at the podium, his collar pulled down, the Red Squadron tattoo visible for everyone to see. He wasn't hiding anymore. The tattoo that had marked him as a failure had become a symbol of survival, of brotherhood, of hope. He thought about the journey that had brought him here, from elite operator to broken veteran to janitor to coordinator. Each phase had been necessary, each struggle had taught him something. And now he was using all of it, the training, the trauma, the recovery, to help others find their way. His phone buzzed with a text from one of the young SEALs he'd been counseling. "Thanks for talking today. You helped more than you know. Semper Fi." Michael smiled and texted back, "Always here, brother, you're not alone." Because that was the truth that had saved him, the truth he now shared with every struggling veteran he met. None of them were alone. The brotherhood didn't end when you left service. It didn't end when you struggled. It didn't end when you fell. It was there in the darkest moments, in the symbols you carried, in the memories you shared. Michael Tors had spent years as the invisible janitor, hiding from his past, convinced he'd failed. But when Captain Donnelly recognized the symbol on his neck, everything changed. Not because of the recognition itself, but because of what it represented, that he was still valued, still remembered, still part of something bigger. The tattoo had always been there, hidden under his collar. But now he wore it proudly, a reminder of who he'd been, who he'd become, and who he was still helping. The veteran janitor had become a voice for the voiceless. The broken warrior had become a healer. The invisible man had become impossible to ignore. And it all started with a symbol on his neck, a mark of brotherhood that connected him to the men who refused to let him stay lost. That was the power of brotherhood. That was the power of remembering. That was the power of refusing to give up on each other. Michael Torres was living proof that it was never too late to come home. Never too late to be seen. Never too late to matter. The symbol on his neck had always meant something. He just needed someone to recognize it. And in recognizing it, to recognize him. To pull him back from the edge and remind him that he was still a warrior. Still a SEAL. Still worth saving. Always.